Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy Joe the Juggernaut. Today I'm here to talk to you about my experience with joining the military at 39 years old and how I got disqualified. Let's go. Before we start the video, I just want to let you know that the opinions expressed in this video are mine and mine alone and do not represent the Department of Defense, the U.S. Navy, or any branch of service whatsoever. These, again, are solely my opinions and none of any government entity whatsoever. Hey, what's going on, y'all? Appreciate y'all joining me today. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my experience with joining the Navy at 39. So for some of y'all, my 30 and up club, the OG, triple OGs,
Yo, what's up, OG, triple OG, OG, triple, OG?
y'all might be interested in joining the military, and if you're anything like me, you might have just gone through tons of threads and YouTube videos on trying to figure out, like, is the military right for me? There's a tons of branches of service out there, so many decisions to make, and you really have to figure out, like, does it make sense? At the end of the day, you have to join for your reasons. Now, my specific reason why it made sense for me is that I have a lot of people in my family that have served. It's a really strong tradition of service, including my dad. And so it was important for me to serve my country and earn my keep, so to speak. Again, it's not for everyone. That's just how I feel personally. So joining the military is something that I definitely want to do for a long time. It does come with a significant amount of benefits for me as well, and for my family, including education benefits. I do have 3 kids, and so we'll get into that a little bit later in the video. But I just want to share, again, for me, it had to make sense, right? And so you have to kind of dig deep and figure out, does the decision make sense for you? Listen to all the pros, the cons, all the advice, and then decide with your family whether or not it is the right decision. So when I was looking at joining the military, I had to look at 3 important factors for me in terms of which branch I was selecting. Number 1, I'm 39. So just about every branch of service has an age limit. So it's important that I meet the age limit for that specific branch to be able to join. Secondly, it was important for me that they allowed me to join with the number of dependents. If you're not aware, every branch of service also has a dependent limitation. So you can find those online, but for every branch of service, a dependent is dictated by your spouse, your significant other, and anybody that you provide more than half the care for. So your kids, it could be stepkids, it could be even, maybe a grandfather, or excuse me, a mother or father that you've taken into your home. Maybe you're caring for an elderly individual. They're technically still a dependent because they're under your full custody and care. It could be an adult disabled child, right? So maybe they're 25, you have somebody, an older child with disabilities, again, that you provide full custody for. They're still a dependent. And so every branch has limitations on the number of dependents you can have in order to enlist. The reason behind that is you want to make sure that you can adequately support your family. As you know, or as you don't know, the military doesn't necessarily pay extremely well, right? And so you want to make sure that you are able to support your family, however big they are, with the salary that you're going to be extended from the military. And that's one of the reasons why they kind of limit the number of dependents you can join with. So the last thing that was important for me was money. And so, yes, I am joining the military to serve my country, but if one branch is going to offer me a bonus over another one for doing the exact same job or something similar, why not, right?
Here it is. Show me the money.
So it was important for me that I get some kind of bonus for my service. And so this kind of led me down the path of joining the Navy Reserve. And so the Navy Reserve does allow for enlistment with 4 dependents. So I have 3 kids, as I mentioned, plus my wife, which is a 4th dependent. And so they did allow me to join with 4. The other thing for the branch of service is important, again, as I mentioned, was bonus. So at the time that I was looking to enlist, they were offering an $8,000 bonus for an associate's degree. Even more for a bachelor's. I don't have a bachelor's, unfortunately, but I was extended an $8,000 bonus for my bachelor's degree, associates. And then I also got a $15,000, or was eligible for a $15,000 bonus for the job that I was looking for. So we'll get into that here in a few as well. The last thing was the age, right? So at 39, the maximum enlistment age for the Navy Reserve was 42. So again, I've been kind of looking in the military for quite a few years now. So I've actually found the most success in speaking to recruiters is actually just showing up at the recruiter's office. I know a lot of them have websites. You can go online, fill out this questionnaire, do this, do that. Somebody will contact you. The problem that I found in filling out those online questionnaires is that there's a lot of exclusionary questions on there. So for example, if you're, let's just say, like myself, right? So I'm very heavy, and so I weigh 280 pounds. Damn! And so putting 280 pounds into the questionnaire when they ask you for like your age and height and weight would automatically disqualify me, right? I don't make height and weight. However, I do pass body fat. And so that was one of the things that I found with a lot of the online questionnaires is you could answer one question and boom, you're automatically disqualified. Nobody's going to get your information. You'll never hear from them again. So I showed up at a recruiter's office, to the recruiting office down in San Antonio off of Potranco and 1604. So shout out to Petty Officer Sanchez, who's an awesome recruiter, did a great job the entire step of the way. And so, I can't speak highly enough about him. But anyways, I did show up there, talk to the recruiter, and just let him know my overall scenario, right? So I have 3 kids, I'm married, I'm 39, obviously a little overweight, and I've had knee surgery, ACL reconstruction to be specific, and so I wanted to make sure that that was something that he'd be willing to work with, because let's be honest, not every recruiter is willing to put in that amount of work. The more potentially disqualifying conditions you have, the harder that recruiter has to work to get you in. And sometimes it's just not worth it when they've got other kids that are lined up and that are pretty much ready and eligible to join today. And so shout out again to my recruiter, because he was definitely willing to work with me. Maybe because of the recruiting shortage, that had something to do with it, but either way, he was good to go. So the first thing that we did was we set up, he set me up at the back office to take a practice ASVAB. So the ASVAB is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. Most of us took that thing in high school, but it's only good for 2 years. There is no pass-fail, but each branch of service does have a minimum score that they need to qualify you for. And so I did take the practice test. I scored a 98, if I'm not mistaken, on the practice test, or 96, something like that. I can't remember, which is really good. So he's definitely looking to work with me. He did take my height and weight and did a tape test to measure my body fat, which I was eligible for. And so the next step for us was to schedule me a date and time to actually take the full ASVAB. So the full ASVAB is taken at San Antonio MEPS. The recruiter does drop you off there. You spend a couple hours there taking the test. Then they pick you back up and take you back to the recruiting station or back to your home, wherever they picked you up from. And so I did schedule the test. I took a day off from work. I showed up around noon. I got out of there somewhere around 5 p.m. I did take the ASVAB along with several other tests. I don't know if they're specific to the Navy or if it's something that my recruiter just wanted me to take based upon my high practice score to make me eligible for other jobs. But I took the ASVAB, which again takes about 2 hours, 3 hours. There's a time cap on it. I also took a coding speed test. So they just test you on your capacity or ability to learn how to code, do computer coding. And so I also took a cyber knowledge test, which is kind of like testing you on different things about like computers, right? Like, do you know what, hardware is? Do you know what software is? Do you know what, different types of internet connections, what a modem is, router, a bunch of different questions about just, again, all things computer, IT. I also took a TAPIS test. So I took that test. Right away, you get your scores. You get what are called line scores. So each category of the test will give you an individual score, and then you get an AFQT, which is your total qualifying score. And so on my total score, I got a 96. And so again, pretty much made me eligible for every single job that the Navy had to offer. So my recruiter's pretty pleased. At this point, what our next step was go back to the recruiting office, and he set expectations for what we do next, which would be to fill out the background information and submit what's called a complex pre-screen. So again, as I mentioned, I did have ACL reconstruction on my right knee. And what I didn't mention is I also had a Class B misdemeanor probably about 10 or 12 years ago for something, relatively minor. And so the way the military works today is you submit what's called a pre-screen. So the pre-screen is designed to submit all your supporting documentation regarding whatever situation that you might have. It's reviewed beforehand before you go to MEPS to do your actual physical. So the legal pre-screen only took about 2 days. So for my what's called a moral waiver, that one was approved within 2 days under that pre-screen. So they looked at my court records. I did actually have to sign or submit a letter talking about what my statement of fact was, right? Like, what did I feel happened the day or time or night of my arrest? And what was I doing? What was my account of the situation? What have I been doing since? And so pretty much what you're doing is just talking about how you learn from a situation, right? This is what happened. I learned this. For me, obviously I started a new career, been there for 12 years. I have a family, got married, I have 3 kids, got my associate's degree. I do some community service and volunteer work, so on and so forth. So just trying to speak to the character of the person you are. And then for my medical waiver, again, we submitted that. That took about 30 days. And so I had been reading a few Reddit feeds. One is New to the Navy. It gives you a lot of information about joining the military and the Navy. And so that Reddit feed told me that it was going to take anywhere between 3 to 12 weeks to get that pre-screen approved, which they were pretty much right on track. So 30 days is what it took. I think 32 days to get the pre-screen approved. Just food for thought. If you're joining at my age, you might have heard back in the day, if you've ever looked into joining the military back in the day, you ever heard them where they say just keep your mouth shut, don't share any medical information here that you don't need to. That doesn't apply today. So now the military uses what's called MH Genesis. So Genesis is like an online database of medical records. And so if you've ever gone to like the emergency room, which you're a doctor, to have surgery or been treated for anything, your medical records are more than likely on file. And so if you're saying like, hey, I never had this condition or I've never done this, never had surgery, and you go to MEPS to do your physical, they're going to pull your medical records and it will show that, hey, you had surgery. Hey, you went to the doctor for concussion. You got a CT scan. Or hey, you broke this arm back in 2005. Like, that stuff will pop up. And so it's better just to be honest up front, talk to your recruiter. I would definitely ask them about it before you put it down on any documentation. So while we're waiting for my complex pre-screen, medical pre-screen to get approved, I also had to fill out a bunch of background information, packets probably about this thick. So you're filling out everything when it comes to your residence for the last 10, 15 years, employment history for the last 10 years or so. I think it's 10 or 15 years. You have to fill out all your immediate family information. So we're talking about mom, dad, stepmom, stepdad, mother-in-law, father-in-law, kids, all that stuff has to be filled out. I mean, it's even talking about places of birth and where they might have lived, things like that. And this is all for your background information. So if you're looking for a job that has security clearance, you're going to have to, pursue that information. You have to get all your information in terms of like your high school and college transcripts. Again, anything significant in medical history. It's just a lot of background information. And just when you think you're done filling out a packet, you get another packet. Like, here's some more information we need you to fill out. In about 32 days, that got approved. And so what my recruiter did was reach out and say, hey, we're good to go. We're going to schedule you for MEPS. So again, MEPS, the processing station, is where you're doing your ASVAB testing and you're also doing your medical evaluation. And so what happens at MEPS the day of your physical is the night before you will stay at a hotel. It's a military hotel or military affiliated hotel. They have a contract. And so you'll stay there. There's tons of people there that are also going to MEPS the next day. You sleep at the hotel. They get you up probably around 3:45, 4 in the morning, somewhere around there. I think you got to be downstairs at 4:15. You get some chow, and then they line you up, put you in the bus, ship you over to MEPS. You're there by 5 in the morning, and then you start the process. And so at MEPS, you get quite a bit of testing. So they test your hearing, they test your vision. They're looking for color blindness. They're looking for, obviously how good your vision is. They're testing you on your range of motion. So you do a bunch of exercises where you're kind of like, dexterity tests. Can you do this type of stuff? Can you rotate your wrists? Arm rotations. Can you touch your toes? They're having you roll down on your knees and come back up. They'll do the infamous duck walk. If you've ever heard of the duck walk, that's something that you'll have to do as well. And then they're looking over your body for any kind of major scarring, something that you might have not mentioned in your documentation. They'll do all that stuff. They'll do height and weight. And then at that point, they'll determine whether or not you're approved to go ahead and swear in that day, or if you're temporarily disqualified, which I was. And so I did get temporarily disqualified, and that was for my knee surgery. And so although all the supporting documentation looked great and I was good to go with MEPS, they did want to see an independent consult. And so you'll see this quite often for anybody who has any kind of medical waiver. They're going to ask for a consult. So what they do is they're going to send you out to a third-party doctor that they let you know who it is. And that doctor will have to do an independent assessment of your knee, so they're not just necessarily going to trust what your doctor said. So they're going to look at their doctor, have them do an assessment, they fill out the report, and then they're going to submit it back. And so then we just wait for the consult to get approved, which took another 30 days. So unfortunately, the total time, if you will, for that medical waiver is 60 days, right? 30 days for the pre-screen, 30 days for the consult to go through. And that's just the doctor signing off saying, I'm good, submits it to MEPS. MEPS has to process it, put it on file. And so at that point, my recruiter reached out and said, hey, your consult got approved. Let's get you scheduled to go to MEPS to swear in. So super excited about that. He said, hey, this was like on a Thursday. He said, we'll set you up for next Wednesday. How does that work? I said, awesome. I'll take some time off from work. We'll get it done. Monday, I get a call from my recruiter and says, hey, we have an issue. And I said, yeah, what's going on? He said, you got flagged by MEPS for the number of dependents. So when they schedule your appointment for MEPS, they're running through all your documentation with a fine-tooth comb just to make sure that when you get to MEPS, there are no hiccups. We can get you sworn in and get you in the military. And so they flagged me for the number of dependents. As I mentioned to you before, one of the things that was important for me was joining with the right number of dependents, like getting a branch that would say, like, you're good. And so we were pretty sure the Navy said, hey, 4 dependents, you're good to go, which is true. Unfortunately, there's some fine print, and there was something that was passed not too long ago in the legislation or the regulations of the Navy that says you can join with 4 dependents, but no more than 2 of those dependents can be under the age of 18. Total deal breaker for me. I have 3 kids, 16, 11, and 3. And so that disqualified me from enlisting, unfortunately. And so my recruiter said, hey, just hang tight. I'm going to get with Chief, see if there's anything we can figure out, to be able to get you to swear in. But I'll let you know. I said, cool. So for about a week or two, actually about 2-3 weeks, my recruiter was just kind of keeping in contact once a week, let me know, hey, we're still trying to figure things out, just checking on this, checking on that. He ultimately did give me a call and say, hey, no dice, we can't get you in. We were looking to try and get an exception to policy, but this is a pretty hard line in the sand, and we're not going to be able to get you enlist. So there was end of my enlistment journey with the Navy, unfortunately, because the number of dependents was too high. So if you're looking to join the Navy, just a heads up, again, for reserve, they do allow you 4 dependents, but no more than 2 of those dependents can be over the age of 18. And so, again, did get disqualified. That's not anything that's going to change anytime soon. The good news is I was able to swear into another branch of the military, which I'll talk to you guys on the next video. But, and I'll also make another video talking a little bit about the MEPS experience in detail. So you guys, in the meantime, have any questions, please let me know down in the comments below. Ask your questions. More than happy to answer. And then, like and subscribe so you can catch the next video, talk to you about the rest of my enlistment journey. And so the last thing that I did want to mention is, again, I appreciate all of you sticking along for this long. I know it was a long video, but stay tuned. Much better content coming up in the future. All right.